Hey, showtime for YouTube. And I wanted to first start off for even experienced mechanics to you young guys that are just starting to watch guys like me. Um, I have an opinion where it comes from. My other career was correcting design flaws, and I kind of reiterate that. So nobody's born anything, but you remember if dad's ever said to you, your father, uh, I know what you did, how it happened. That's why I don't want people not to watch me that I'm condescending because I tried to correct myself a couple times. You're not born knowing all of this, and I want to explain how things happen because two things happened. The fuel tank to this Silverado is still not in here. Now, let me tell you about one thing, how somebody like me can absolutely tell you what happened here. I had to splice this line. It's not, I had the tank up in there, and it's about 8 inches too short. And if you're going to do this on the ground, you're probably going to end up cutting that. The good thing is this is not a high pressure fuel pump. This is still uh, TBI. It does not have that spider fuel injection under the intake like this girl does. This girl's several years newer. I think about 95 they went to that spider intake, and then we got onto the modern Vortec. Here's the see that? That's China. Okay, what happened on that truck there is the engineers researched what probably the factory fuel line length is. Now that's put in there with automation, so you're going to need slack, or especially if the guy's going to do the tank on the ground, or even if you're going to back that tank out of there on the lift. That's a hell of a job getting in between that fuel tank and getting wrenches in there. And that's basically what you end up doing, is cutting everything apart anyway. But it doesn't go back together that way. Now here with China, they know just when that 2 years is up because they're using and experimenting with materials. Do not ever think the Chinese are stupid, because they're not. And then you see this old fuel tank? I gotta clean this yuck out of here. That's gonna get vacuumed out. Smells just like that holiday moonshine Aunt Doris and Aunt Luma used to drink in the kitchen on the holidays. Hoo-wee. I mean, that is cross between turpentine, cat pee, and I think maybe Heineken. I'm not quite sure. I haven't drank Heineken for a while, but I do remember it has some sort of essence. But this is an actual Dorman tank. It's a replacement tank, and this thing's a better part of maybe 10, 15 years old, and this is galvanized. This isn't a steel tank. This is a galvanized tank. How do I know that? Look at it. Okay? There's no rust on this. The rust that's on there is transference from the straps. That's transference. This is galvanized. You even see here the neck? That's barely rusted. And that's only because of chemical contact. You see, when you're talking to guys like me, and when Dad tells you, hey, I know what you did, I know how you did it, and stuff like that, okay, it's called experience. So I've got to cut grass. This man's expecting his truck back, but you see, here in the Hillbilly Hills, it gets really humid here, okay? See, life is not the same in all areas, and when you're working with urethane coatings or even oil-based coatings, okay, and you have this type of really humid weather, it's not a good idea to apply it because it's never going to dry. And a lot of people were experiencing that with high solids products, oil-based or urethane, especially high solids like I use. If you spray that in high heat and high humidity, it also doesn't dry despite the heat, and you think it would. No, it stays sticky because the moisture cannot release out of the product. It traps the moisture until it cools off and the humidity level drops. Then the VOC that's in the chemical, because there's very little VOC in these new products, then it starts to evaporate the moisture that is actually trapped. When you're spraying and you do layers, you're trapping that residual moisture, that atmospheric moisture. Even though it's not raining, it's still moisture. And I try to explain those things to people. Being an engineer, thank God I don't own one of those Mercedes, those dealer-dependent cars that they make you feel violated when you walk in there, and they make you feel stupid because they got the computer, because your car's smarter than you and takes a shit. You see, we know all those things here Um, it's like Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, the rest of them. I've worked for a couple of them. And a lot of those shops, they all have special tools, they all have special automation. So I know how these mistakes are made. But that's basically, fine lines did not work out. It's a nice concept, don't get me wrong. But they got to put a little more slack in those lines, because you're not doing it like, you're not reassembling that truck like it was put together at the factory. Um, and that's my number one. So I've got, I don't have a bucket list for this truck. I've got a feed trough. Uh, the rockers are coming for it. The cab bushings are coming for it. That'll get done this year with these other two projects. I had to order stuff for this other gentleman's truck, so I didn't even touch it. I got him lights. I got him different things. And that was the other thing. I took the lights out of the box, and right away I called the company. I deal with a reputable company on that, because the hardware was missing. And he said, yeah, we've been having a run of that. Because this company, when you get these, they're not all that expensive, these LED lights, but they come with stainless steel hardware. And it's one of the reasons why I gravitated to some of these companies. And you can get those lights on Amazon. They're probably Chinese, but when you call the company, you at least talk to a person. Now, when I talked to the lady at, I got a lady that should be doing dishes. I told her the return line is like 8 inches too short. What's the part number? Excuse me? You don't even put a goddamn schedule in the box, a hardware schedule. So how the F do I know what the part number is? And then if it's getting dark like it was here at the time of this occurrence, maybe the part number's there somewhere on that line. But I'm in my office making a call, okay? I'm not underneath the truck. And I told her that. And I said, regardless, you know, I need the return line. She didn't know what a return line was. She wasn't sure whether it was the manifold. There's 4 pieces. There's 2 manifold pieces, as you know, on this fuel injection, and then the lines themselves and the filter. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I'm telling her it's the return line, and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but you work at the company? I mean, maybe these lines are made in some home shop somewhere, because Summit was telling me they're American made. So fine, maybe they're made in a home shop somewhere, and it's the wife or mama, but you should still know something about the business instead of answer the phone and be ignorant, or at least put a hardware schedule in the box with part numbers, okay? So that's why I said, when these companies insult people like me, I don't really go back to them to buy anything. And this is the 3rd experience with fine lines. I bought fine lines for this and this my Super Sport here, and it worked out. That was the one. And I went back and I got the fuel lines for Tara after her brake lines were done, and that was screwed up. I got a call. I had a guy, it was in the middle of the winter when the fuel line went, so I sent it down to my buddy down the street here. Calls me up and says, hey, these are the wrong lines. It's going to cost you more money, unfortunately, because I'm going to have to modify them. Fine, I'm going to pay it. I need my truck back. Okay. So my 3rd experience was on a customer's vehicle. It was the same basic goddamn thing. Ordered the fuel lines, and they were the wrong fuel lines, and they were too short. And that's fine lines. So somewhere in the mix, they're reading factory spec maybe and making a part to those lengths. That's a dumb idea. Okay? But if Fine Lines is smart, they're going to listen to videos like mine. Okay? We have weird noises in the background. A truck. So anyway, comprehend what I'm telling you. This is not all of this is a skill level. If you ever fail, that you feel as though you did something, and then you've got to kind of talk to your customer and say, look, I did tell these people I've had 2 years of nothing but failures with auto parts, just like those brake pads that the ears were too wide to fit inside the rotor. I'm not talking about the piston clip. If you guys misunderstood my son, we're not the best animated. Like I said, we don't have a production company behind us. We're not politically correct. And I stay, you know, like last night, just like Orange Cat when he stuck his paws in the, you know, in the wool wax, you know. Oh shit! I was angry. But you can't drive around like this, and especially here, where rust is king. Okay, because that's what the parts look like that come out of this truck. And I'm probably going to end up cutting this truck in half and putting another frame. This frame's pretty atrocious. So I think we're going to get another frame, would probably be the easiest route. and then I don't have to fool with the spring hangers. There's a lot of these that are twisted up down at my uncle's place. A couple of them were in accidents, and they were really piled up, but the frames are still good. So I'm going to go get one of those like new frames. But as I said, I keep smelling Grandma's moonshine wafting over here. Holy cow, that's potent. So that's what you get. China has a planning. They know when the obsolescence occurs in their product. And other companies, American companies, they don't pay attention to detail. So basically that's my video, and I'm hoping we have the right wiring harness. I'm going to be back on this tomorrow. I got the bulbs. I just picked the bulbs up, but unfortunately I got to cut grass, and then I got to finish the urethane, and I'm going to try to fill some of these holes with fiberglass and talk him into getting a bed liner for this truck. Thanks, guys.